So my piece is titled Omni-Present Orbs, and it is kind of a tribute to the past, present, and future of Black Mountain College and kind of the current contemporary art scene and everything else involved. I was speaking with my collaborator on this. Her name is Megan McKissick, quite a bit about, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We talked a lot about how we wanted to spread into the outside grounds around the main dining hall building. And the lake just kept kind of summoning us that we needed to do something on the water. There's all these great kind of like diagonal docks that go back and forth on the water. And at first we talked about just setting up screens on those docks and trying to project from the dining hall and doing this whole kind of combination of sculptural installation. And then I just kept thinking more and more. I was like, boy, I just want to do something on the water. Smoke machines came up in the conversation. And finally, balloons. Balloons popped into our head. We were drinking coffee and talking, and all of a sudden, balloons. What if we projected onto balloons? So I started doing a lot of research on weather balloons and large-scale balloons, and finally found balloondealer.com on the website. I guess the only place you can find 5-foot diameter balloons. But I found all these white balloons, and we purchased, I think, about 9 of them total. And the idea, they were just this beautiful milky white silicone rubber. And I've actually projected onto silicone rubber before, and it looks really nice. It captures the light, it's very luminescent. And so we found these balloons, and the next thing was, well, what are we going to project onto those balloons? And that's kind of where this overall theme of past, present, future came in. That kind of came out of just my overall thinking on the entire event. It's an aspect of my design that I did within the poster and the tickets and everything else, but it's just kind of trying to merge those 3 things together. There's such a rich history. That is the main focus of Black Mountain College, and this whole event is paying tribute and trying to summon the spirits a little bit and trying to just tap into the creative spirit that was there and still lives on through all of the different artists of this century. And so I had this past, present, and future theme that I'm working with, and the past is represented by this historical imagery that we did a lot of research on here at Black Mountain College Museum. We went through all the old archival videotapes, we went through DVDs, we went through books, we went through interviews, just all sorts of different footage. We were putting stuff on these old VHS tapes and playing them on the TV and then filming it with a handheld recorder and coming in and out and just getting all these kind of throbbing, pulsing light images of movement and people's faces and hands. And then for the present, we actually went out and during the whole past couple of months of working on this project, shot textures out at Black Mountain College on the campus, where we went around and shot like textures of the ground and the water surfaces and the buildings and the bricks and the wood and just all of these things that are still there now and still being used and still present. And then the future was the last element to kind of come into play, and it all came together with kind of a performative element too, which is something that Meg and I really wanted to bring to this piece. And so the Ching, which is something that John Cage used a lot to bring indeterminacy to his work, is something that was an early inspiration for me when I was still an undergraduate. With a lot of my work, John Cage has always been a huge influence on my work, and so I wanted to pay some tribute to him. And so I brought in the Ching, originally just taking a reading a few days before the event to kind of get an idea of, okay, what kind of possibilities might happen. And I got a really great reading about increasing and how increasing can be a good thing as long as you follow an honorable path and use wisdom and this and that. And we kept increasing and increasing and increasing this entire time up to the day of the event. And so I thought, wow, what if I brought the Ching in to determine when we're going to change this collage of imagery that's going on the balloons. We have this imagery from the past, we have this imagery from the present, and the Ching represents the future, kind of. It's kind of sending out a question: when should I change? What should I change? How should I change it? And so we did these coin castings, and according to the castings, we worked out a timing correspondence that told us this many minutes we're going to change the next set of clips. And it works because the Ching, you cast it 6 times. And in that casting time, you get combinations of heads and tails that create what's called a trigram, and that trigram gives you your reading from the great book. Well, you can also get these things that are called changing lines. If you get 3 sides of one coin, like 3 heads or 3 tails, it's called a changing line. So for every changing line, that would kind of correspond with how much time we would spend between the change of the video. So if we didn't get any changing lines, it was every 6 minutes, and that represented each of the 6 castings. If we got 1 changing line, we doubled it. We went to 18 minutes. If we got 2 changing lines, we went to 24 minutes. If we got 3 changing lines, and on and on and on and on. And then we added one more aspect to it, and that was the gong. And the gong we were hitting, and basically you could hit the gong to designate. So if we were going to go 6 minutes, we hit the gong 6 times. If we're going 18 minutes, we hit the gong 18 times. If we're going to wait, 24 minutes, we hit it 24 times. And then off of the reading is kind of how we interpreted how we were going to hit that gong. If we were going to bang it really hard, or if we're going to go very softly with it. And I also used that reading to kind of determine which video clips we were going to pull up. If we mentioned something with movement or grace, maybe where Cunningham came up, or if it was something very still and structural, it was Buckminster Fuller. So there's a lot of different influence going on, and we were still continuing to develop it and figure out exactly the balance of everything. But I'm really happy with how the video turned out. I'm really happy with just the luminescence of the spheres. And one of the most unexpected things that happened was the double sphere, the reflection in the water. And we had no idea going into this that this was going to come out. But during our testing on Friday night, we only set up 3 balloons. And we saw during the day that, we had this mirror image of the balloon reflecting in the water, but that still didn't register until the actual night of our test. And then the video reflects into the water and then reflects back into the balloon, and you get this whole video feedback cycle going on of reflection upon reflection. And the little ripples of the water create this pulsing along the balloon. So we're both really happy with how it turned out, and it went beyond all of our expectations.